All right, we are back live. Apologize about that. Lost some connection for a second, but we are back. We are back. So we just broke down the Illinois Marquette game, right, Shark? Um, I lost Shark there. All right, there we are. So we just broke
There
down
we are.
Illinois Marquette. I'm not Illinois Iowa State game. So I like that. Do you currently have any futures pending, Shark?
Yes. I have UConn Final Four at plus
Okay.
120.
Plus 120.
And I
Nice.
have, yep. And then I have NC State Elite Eight at plus 800.
When did you book that?
Thursday morning.
Nice, nice. I should have taken
That's right.
that. I like that. That. I like that. Damn.
That's right. And I also have Gonzaga in my Final Four as well. So
And what'd you
we're
get
uh,
that?
we're looking good. My Auburn to make the Final Four at plus 900 obviously was cooked, but I put that in back in January. That's why I
Okay,
kind of hedged it with the UConn thing.
gotcha, gotcha.
All right. Let's pop over to UNC Alabama, North
This one.
Carolina,
Talk.
Bama. We got UNC -4, -180 on the ML. It's a 173 and a half total. What do you think, your nubs?
Yeah, bro. I'm thinking this is a game where you got to look at the total and really take it seriously. 173 and a half, very high number for a tournament game, but it's not unreachable for both of these teams and the style that they play. Obviously, we know Alabama's going to play fast unless they face a team that's going to allow them not to play fast. I mean, Grand Canyon was the perfect example of that, but UNC, not the example of that. They will fall into the trap and try to run with Alabama, and both of these teams have actually kind of leaned towards the over this year. Alabama 24-8 to the over this year. Meanwhile, UNC 17-17, so about split right there. So for me, I think that this is a matchup, but for UNC, that if RJ Davis gets going, which he should, that they will easily be able to put up 80 points. And then Alabama is going to put up, 85, 90. And both of the tournament games for UNC have gone over so far, over 143 against Michigan State, over 133 and a half against Wagner. They also went over in that NC State game. So they've gone over in 4 of their last 5 games. Alabama did go under against Grand Canyon, but that was a high total of 173, and Grand Canyon plays super slow. But they've gone over 4 of their last 5 as well. So for me, I'm going to isolate this to the total 173 and a half. I'm going to take that. If I did have to pick a side, I would take UNC -3.5. I do have UNC in my Elite Eight against Arizona. I do think we're going to get the Caleb Love game, so they have to go to Alabama to make that happen first. Alabama, great fight back yesterday. They're against the ropes, but UNC has a little bit more experience and a little bit more talent. And then also a key fact that you guys might not have known: Hubert Davis, the coach of UNC, has covered in every single game that he's coached in the NCAA tournament. So a little buzz stat for you guys there.
I love that. I saw that on your Twitter. Did you share that on Twitter or did someone else do that?
Somebody posted it. I just probably retweeted it. So I like little
Yeah.
stats like that.
I love UNC here, and that's not just because I'm salty that Grand Canyon lost. My problem here from the get-go is that Alabama is absolutely atrocious defensively,
Mm-hmm.
and I think North Carolina is going to be much more efficient than Grand Canyon was.
Yep.
You talked about RJ Davis. I like his points for the game. I think they got him at 22 and a half, and he hasn't scored over that yet this tournament. I think this is the game he gets going. Alabama, they barely escaped Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon shot 2 for 20 from downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yes, the game was closer because of Grand Canyon's defensive prowess, but North Carolina not only gets it done on offense, but they've been stellar on defense as well. They're actually number 6 in the nation in defensive efficiency, where Alabama is at 102. I mean, Mark Sears, the guy's as good as any guard in the country. We do know that, but so is RJ Davis. And I expect RJ to have a much more efficient night than Ray Harrison had. I mean, Ray Harrison, he got the looks he wanted. He was 0 for 7 from downtown, 1 for 9 from the field. Can't cap that. That's what happens. RJ Davis, not going to be so lucky. Yeah, Bama's got the firepower, but so do the heels. I mean, Cormac Ryan, he's the sniper they needed when Love left.
Hmm.
Harrison Ingram's playing high quality basketball and is versatile on both ends of the floor. Let's also not forget the golf quality. Here's that golf quality again that Bama's facing this week after going from a 13 seed, then a 12 seed to North Carolina. Could expose the same weaknesses that Bama had tumbling late in the season. Bama was they're 4-10 against quad one opponents in the season, where NC is 9-3. So I just don't think Bama's formidable, and I'm certainly not convinced after watching them let Grand Canyon hang around all game that they're going to be able to compete with North Carolina on both ends of the floor. So I'm going to take the heels.
I love that breakdown, and you are spot on. And I lean with you on UNC as well. Alabama is just too susceptible on the defensive side of the ball. And I think what you mentioned, the two weaker games to start the conference or to start the NCAA tournament, obviously you have to play the teams that are in front of you. None of the losses are weak. But when you look at experience from top to bottom that this North Carolina roster brings, incentive, and then just also overall just kind of coaching and what this team and how they match up with North Carolina or with Alabama, I think I agree with you. North Carolina should be the one that gets it done. And we have a short line here. 3.5 to me is a short line. And I'm willing to lay that, pre-game for sure. So I do like that.
North Carolina team total 87.5 to choose to the over.
Yeah, I think that's worth a look. That first half as well, 42.5 is a little bit high, but I think that is one that you can take a look at as well because I mean, points are gonna be scored. So what you said, RJ Davis 22.5 points looks good. Mark Sears over 21.5 points looks good. So there are a few of those lines that I think are very attractive.
Absolutely. So it sounds like we're kind of on board. We think NC's winning. We think there's going to be points. We think the guards are going to go off on both
Hmm.
ends, whether it's RJ, whether it's Mark Sears. So let's let's pencil in NC -4. But I also think with this next game, we could do a nice MLP, which I know everybody loves. Because
Okay.
I heard you kind of talk earlier about how you think Arizona is going to get the Caleb Love revenge game, and I agree with you. But let's go over it.
Yeah, Arizona, obviously, they're one of the teams to beat right now in the tournament. Very, very dynamic offense. Was able to win their first two games 85-65 against Long Beach State, 78-68 against Dayton. Really never that close of a game against Dayton. Dayton had a little bit of a run in the first half, but Arizona was really able to quell that pretty early. But this is a matchup where I'm actually going to lean with Clemson on the points here, especially if it keeps moving upwards. We're at 7 now on my book. I love a 7.5 point spread here in favor of Clemson. They're playing some inspired basketball. And when I was in attendance at that game against New Mexico, seeing how they were able to take away the 3 point line and really force New Mexico's bigs to beat them, I think they could do something very similar to this Arizona offense that loves to shoot a lot of threes. They shoot it at a very high rate, 19th in all of college basketball in 3 point percentage, 24th in effective field goal percentage. But what I think that Clemson can do, take away that 3 point line and force them to shoot 2 pointers, which is where Clemson's strength is because they've got that big man inside PJ Hall, but he can also spread the floor as well from the 3 point line. And then you've got Joe Girard, sharpshooter transfer from Syracuse, Chase Hunter. You know what he can do with his athleticism, with his dribble in terms of getting to the rim. So I think that this is an opportunity for a Clemson team that's playing inspired, that's beaten two teams already whose primary offense has been the 3 point ball in New Mexico and Baylor. So I think that gives them the confidence going into this Arizona game to at least be able to game plan for it and keep it close. Now, do I think they're going to win the game outright? I'm not 100% sure they have enough firepower to do that, or if they're able to stay out of foul trouble enough in order to keep that close. That's how they almost lost to Baylor. Baylor made a quick run there at the end. But I think that this is a game that Clemson can keep close. KenPom has this as a 79-74 win for Arizona, so that's covering that 7 point number that we're currently getting. So I will lay the points with Clemson. They're playing some good basketball, shooting a lot of threes right now and hitting at a high rate, and defensively have been able to take away the 3 point line and are willing to trade twos for threes, twos for twos, or get to the free throw line as well. So I think Clemson at 7 points, 7.5 points is great value at what we're getting it at.
Sure. Clemson, they're tough as nails. And they're sure playing like a team of destiny. Like you said, they're just outside the top 25 in offensive efficiency, and they've really stepped up their defensive prowess in the tournament. They have like your stereotypical March villain guys like PJ Hall, like Ian Shefflin, both providing that spark and that fire on the floor. The guys that are busting your bracket, that are mushing your bets that you hate, your classic Christian Leitner types, if you will. The guard play does worry me a little bit, but I mean, Joe Girard, he's shown he can get hot from downtown. That's exactly what this team is right now. They're hot. They got the March blood boiling. But let's not downplay Arizona here. Like Arizona is going to be a step up in competition from Baylor, because contrary to Baylor teams in the past, this year's team was not any good in the sense of defensive metrics.
Mm-hmm.
And contrary to Arizona teams in the past, Arizona has been good in the sense of defensive metrics. I mean, Arizona, let's not forget, they still have a bad taste in their mouth after getting embarrassed by Princeton last year. They've got the whole Purdue, Farley Dickinson syndrome thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
They're top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency. So they're a more complete team than Clemson. They have stellar guard play. They have Caleb Love. They have Pelly Larson. They have Kylan Boswell. All threats from deep. You know, when Caleb Love gets hot, all bets are off. They have more so threats from deep than Baylor had. And Ballo, I think, can bang with the best of them. So he's the type of guy that can knock a guy like PJ Hall off their game. He's like a Sonogo light, if you will. Emphasis on the light, because he's not Adomo Sonogo by any means, but that's kind of what this team reminds me of. Like a little bit of a light version from last year's UConn team without the coaching advantage. I mean, I guess as legacy would call it, both teams are on droughts of their own. Like Arizona hasn't made the Elite Eight in almost 10 years. Clemson hasn't been to the Elite Eight in 44 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to say, like, this isn't a traditional matchup for Arizona. And that's going to have them struggling as Clemson, like, really has increased their level of play like we talked about. So I can see Clemson keeping it closer here. But, like, I just can't get over the fact and the way that Arizona makes their opponents pay with the second chance points. Feels like every time I bet against Arizona, it's close, and then I blink, and then it's not. And something that really concerns me with Clemson is they've given up 30 offensive rebounds in 2 games so far this tourney. And with a guy like Ballo, Arizona is one of the top rebounding teams in the country. And they make their opponents pay with shot making and the way they blow the doors down quickly. Especially if they're getting more second chance buckets than Clemson. I do think Arizona wins this game. And I do think we do get that Caleb Love revenge narrative over against North Carolina. So, like, I don't really like a side on the spread in this game. I kind of feel like I'm just going to do a UNC and Arizona MLP and call it good.
Yeah, I agree. I think laying the 7 points might not make the most sense, but the MLP is definitely a good look. Or we can isolate it to the first half. I think the 3.5 for Arizona in the first half, you're getting 2 buckets. We're not asking them to do too much. They go on a quick little run there. They were leading by 7 against Dayton at the first half. I think that might be another look. But when you're talking about down the stretch, if Clemson can stay within 10 points or so, that them not being able to close that deficit to at least 7, I think that's a big, tall ask here. And I think, like what you mentioned, there are a few guys that can do that for Clemson to keep it close. But Arizona should ultimately pull it out because they do have the better guards. They're the more complete team. And like you said, the incentive is there with them. And we saw yesterday with Texas A&M how impactful offensive rebound can be, especially when that is what you focus on. That's really one of the reasons why they stayed in the game against Houston. And Clemson does not have the big men to be able to rotate through if they get in foul trouble because they're giving up offensive rebounds and little ticky-tack putback fouls. So that's something to keep in mind. And I think that it could get out of control early, and I think that's why maybe the first half might be a look. Or like you mentioned, the money line parlay, I think, is also kind of a good way to go. That was printing on Saturday, and I don't see a reason why I wouldn't do the same thing in this matchup.
That being said, are we looking at maybe a Ballo bounce back game? I mean, against Dayton, he had 8 points and 3 boards. Before that, his rebounds 13, 12, 13, 10. I think with the offensive rebound bonus, I think it's worth a look.
I think it is something that's worth a look, and I think I'm not hitting the panic button on Balo just yet because he, faced a big. What's the big man there for Dayton? Holmes, Deshaun Holmes,
Holmes.
right? He faced him, but I think the guy that Arizona has to get going is Boswell. I mean, this is a guy who's averaging 10 points per game on the season. Only 2 points against Dayton. Had 20 points against Long Beach State. Okay, whatever. But 4 points against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship there. He had 2 points against USC in the semifinals. Then he had 5 points in the quarterfinals against USC the game before that, right? So it's like his offense has been missing for the last few weeks. And if a defense is able to take away Caleb Love, or he's having a tough shooting game, we know Larson's looking to more facilitate than he is looking for his shot. So if that's the case, they need Boswell to be able to find his offense, or that could be something that's going to be an issue come Elite Eight time, Final Four time, and if you're really trying to go further than that.
Yeah, and Jabba Bash said it right here. Feels like Joe is the X factor. It's going to be what Clemson can get out of their guards, honestly.
Yeah, most definitely.
I agree. I do think I'm gonna lean Balo rebounds for a little bounce back performance with the a lot of offensive putbacks.
I like that.
And then I'm gonna throw in an MLP with Arizona and UNC just because I don't want to pick a side on Arizona, and that's just how I'm gonna do it.
What's the? Let me look at the payout on that real quick for Arizona and North Carolina.
I think it should be like plus 110.
Yep, plus 110. Yep.
W mental math. That's how you know you spend too much time in the book is when you can look at two lines and then guess what you think it's going to be.
And then dialed.
Cool. All right. Well, let's move over.
All right.
This game I'm super excited for.
All right.
Houston, Duke. That's right.
Who do you have?
Houston,
Who do you have?
Who do I have here?
Yeah. Who you got, bro?
I got Houston. What do you think?
I had Houston losing to A&M, and now that they haven't lost, they're going to face Marquette. So I've got them winning. I like the first half at -1.5. I like the full game at -4. I would tease it down to -3.5 just so you don't get hooked there. I think if Duke does not blow out James Madison, and if Houston does not go to overtime, this is easily a 6.5 point spread. But I think because of how those games ended, we're getting some line value here, and then also name recognition with Duke as well. That's going to be baked into the line. But when you look at pure talent of both these programs and teams, Duke shot the absolute lights out of the ball against James Madison. There was nothing that James Madison could have done to win that game, in all honesty. Are they going to be able to do that against Houston? Absolutely not. That's a wrap. So, what's his name? That shot. Let me pull it up real quick. He hit like 8 3-pointers. Hold on, real quick. Let me pull up the box score real quick. McCain. Yeah.
Jared McCain.
Yeah, McCain. Right when McCain went 8 from 11, 10 of 15 from the field. That ain't happening against Houston. It's not happening.
Jared McCain's got Lamar Jackson syndrome because now all I see is Jared McCain dancing videos on my TikTok algorithm after that game.
Exactly. So, for me, better defense, not overthinking it. Houston should be able to get it done. They have the size to be able to match up with Filipowski inside. And I'm taking advantage of the fact that the line has given us such a generous 1-possession, 2-possession spread here. For Houston, a number 1 seed, give me Houston 3.5, first half -1.5. I'm not even second guessing that.
Jabba Bash is asking, does Flip not have an advantage in offensive rebounds? I'm not sure I see it that way. Let me give you the spiel. You want the spiel?
Okay, tell us. Break it down.
Yeah, let me break it down for you. All right, so we knew that Duke would be dangerous with their guards. They got Jared McCain, they got Jeremy Roach, they got Tyrese Proctor. But I do have to give my props to Filipowski.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a thorn in every team's side with the way he draws defenders off his teammates. He can beat the D in the post. He can beat the D while stretching the floor. Jon Scheyer's got his best team yet.
Yep.
And they're going to have all they can handle with Houston. Seemingly through the numbers and the eyes, Houston is the best defensive team in the country. All right. The Cougars are not only the better defensive team, but I'm willing to say that they have the firepower to combat Duke's three-headed monster on the perimeter. I mean, Emmanuel Sharp is playing out of his mind. Jamal Shedd is a winner and a leader. LJ Cryer always a threat. And Juwan Roberts has the size to keep Filipowski uncomfortable down low and bang him around a little bit. I think that's what people like, they like the three-headed monster on Houston, but they forget that Roberts is kind of an animal down low.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say the biggest elephant in the room is, okay, so if Houston's so good defensively, why did Texas A&M score 95 points? Well, you could say the same thing with, I thought the Cougars were a bad three-point shooting team. How'd they score 100? I mean, sometimes the game script just calls for that. They adjusted, something that they didn't do very well in the Big 12 championship. Their offense has been on a tear. They had 86 the first game. They had 100 the second game. Granted, Longwood is Longwood, but they had 100 in the second game. They're shooting well over 50% from the field since the tournament tip. And I'm going to say it again, but Duke hasn't really played that type of competition to begin. Vermont and James Madison isn't really grounds for overreaction, in my opinion. Although I will say, I am giving Duke flowers. I will say the offensive performance against James Madison was impressive. They didn't miss. If they shoot like that against Houston, Houston's not going to be able to match that. Only problem is James Madison played virtually no defense. Mm-hmm. Houston's going to see the name Duke on the jersey and turn on smother mode. I expect him to make life difficult for Duke, who hasn't been stellar in quad one games this season. People forget Duke gets punked a lot. When the going gets tough, Duke is 500 this season against quad one teams, where Houston has won 17 fucking quad one games. They know what they do. They know what they know, or they know what they need to do to win games. As long as they don't turn in another stinker like Iowa State, which I think was like the wake-up call, get the loss out of the way that they needed, I think that Houston wins this bad boy as the tougher, better coached, and more experienced team.
Spot on. I 100% agree. And I think another area that's going to be big in this game is the free throw line. That's what Filipowski's trying to do, is get to the free throw line. That is why A&M was in the game yesterday, and the reason why they were able to score 95 points is because they shot over 40 free throws. But A&M, 27th in college basketball this year in terms of getting to the free throw line. 9th in college basketball in terms of free throws attempted per game. Duke, all the way down at 125th. So they're basically middle of the pack in terms of free throws attempted per game. They live and die by the three. They look to stretch the floor. They're not looking for the contact that Houston's going to be giving to them on both sides of the ball, and that is going to be the difference in this matchup. The veteran leadership of this team, this Houston team, and the physicality of this team. As long as the refs are not calling it ticky-tack and we don't get 3 fouls on Houston's big men within the first 10 minutes of the game, like what we kind of saw yesterday, then this is going to be a matchup that favors Houston here.
100% agree. So I think we're not afraid to lay the points with Houston.
No, not at all.
Any player props you like?
In this game, I would have to take a look at it a little bit more, but I do kind of like either McCain or Roach. They're both at 13.5, 12.5. One of them is going to go over that. Can I tell you which one? I'd have to kind of dive in a little bit more to see which position kind of fares a little bit better for Houston's defense. But I do think one of the guards is going to have a better scoring day. We saw that yesterday. And then I think also in tournament time, kind of when you're going off these averages, you got to keep in mind, the volume goes up as well. The superstars are shooting the ball a whole lot more as well. So I think when you're looking at low line, like 13, 14.5 points, that's literally 2, 3 three-pointers, 2 or 3 free throws, and then maybe 1 or 2 layups or field goals from the field. So it's not too much to ask. So I think one of the guards in Roach or McCain might be a good look.
W's. Yeah, I haven't really looked at it. What about a Filipowski under? What's he at?
On what, his points?
Yeah, what's he at right now?
14.5.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so it's like...
I don't know. I could go either way there.
They've got Roach at 12, McCain at 13.5, and they've got Filipowski at 14.5. So
Flip, PR 23.5, juice to the under, minus 125. I think he might get banged around a little.
He could easily keep that 2-3 fouls drawn on him pretty early on, too.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. W's. We're going Houston. It's settled.
beautiful part about that Houston game too, it's the last game of the weekend. So I mean, it's a great tuck me in piece too, or you can kind of see how your bankroll has done for the weekend. So it could be something where it's like, all right, I'm gonna put a little extra on this to tuck me in, or this could be a play that can be like, let me wait on this on Sunday. In all honesty, I mean, we'll probably talk about Creighton and Tennessee next. If you've been getting killed all weekend, you might not want to touch that Creighton Tennessee game and just wait for that Houston Duke game. I mean, I'm not saying I've got that much confidence in Houston, but out of these two lines on Sunday, or out of the four lines on Sunday, not Sunday, Friday, that Tennessee Creighton game to me is a lot more of a toss up than that Houston Duke game.
Absolutely. Let's go to the next game in the region. My team of destiny. I got the future. The Wolfpack to the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
NC State, the team of destiny. If you listen to Loot Riders 1 last weekend, both Noble and I were high on the Wolfpack. And I even stated I had the NC State Wolfpack in my Elite Eight. And here we are now.
Yeah.
Still rolling with the Wolfpack. Noble, your thoughts here? Very likely. I didn't expect the line to be this long.
Okay.
Marquette 6.5. Total 150.5. 6.5 points. 7 points.
Definitely.
NC State still getting no respect.
I mean, they're having to go through some opponents here, man, and we know what NC State's looking to do, right? That's feed the ball to their big man DJ Burns. He's taking the country by storm. I mean, he's kind of giving me like old school like Chief Keef type vibes, with kind of like the head, or maybe more like Young Nudie. He's giving me more Young Nudie type vibes. I don't know if you guys know, if you know a little bit about Young Nudie out there in Minnesota. Oh, Shark. But I think DJ Burns is like, he's taking the country by storm, and rightfully so. Going over that right shoulder, he's definitely unstoppable. And that's going to be the key for Marquette. They've got the size to be able to keep up with DJ Burns. Now, do they have the strength? Maybe not so much, but Igodoro, he has the size. We've got Joplin there. He has the size. These are guys that they can be able to kind of force DJ Burns out a little bit further. And I think the key for Marquette in this game is to make him a facilitator. Now, I will probably track the line movement throughout the week, because if a lot of public money does come in on Marquette and kind of push, I should say sharp money, because I think the public money will be on NC State, kind of due to like the Cinderella story. But if we can get some sharp money on Marquette to push this up to 7 points, 7.5 points, I really love that, because I do have the future on Marquette. So I have a plus 550 future on Marquette to make the Final Four. So I can kind of work off of that. And I took that after Kentucky lost to Oakland. So I locked that one in, because basically now they only have to go. And I had Houston losing to A&M. I mean, I knew that was a long shot. But for me, I was like, all right, Kentucky is going to be gone. And now at this point, it's literally Marquette just has to go through NC State, and then they're going to have to go against Houston. But really, at this point for Marquette, not to say that they haven't had any tough games per se, but they had to go through Western Kentucky in their first game. Started off a little bit slow. Then they went against a 10 seed against Colorado yesterday. Not to say, or Saturday. Not to say that was an easy game, but that was one for me where I think that they would have handled that pretty easily. Late backdoor cover for Colorado in that matchup. But the fact that it's at 6.5 here makes me lean with NC State, but I wouldn't take it at the 6.5 number. I would want to see what the line movement does in this one before I grab it. But DJ Burns is the X factor. Tyler Kolek being healthy is also a big point of emphasis for this Marquette team. And if they have the ability to control the tempo and this pace and really kind of make it more of a slower matchup, I think if they are able to kind of slow down the pace a little bit and make this more of a half-court game, it actually fits Marquette a little bit better, because I think NC State, they just have been able to struggle a little bit more in transition than they have. I mean, in the half court than they have in transition to this up to this point. So give me Marquette, but more on a live line here. I think that this is one that I would actually be interested in doing a money line parlay with them, similar to what you did with Arizona. So I would say them and Purdue puts us at about minus 108. I also have a future on Purdue to win it all at plus 700. So I kind of would probably go that route rather than laying the 6 point spread with Marquette here. It must be tough for a Minnesota man to talk about Wisconsin so personally.
We don't give a fuck about Marquette in Minnesota. Milwaukee is basically Chicago to us.
Okay.
We do care about the Badgers. Fuck the Badgers. We do care about the Packers, but like we don't care about the Bucks as Wolves fans. They're obviously in the East. We're in the West. It's never really been a rivalry. You're really gonna make me ride NC State by myself again?
Listen, I'm gonna take if you're talking about let's take NC State to win the game. I cannot tell the people to take them to win the game, but the 6.5.
You can't endorse that.
I can't, but I want it to happen. I do. I think they are the team of destiny. I do think I agree with you. They are the team. Shaka Smart does nut up. But tell me why you like NC State. Give me the NC State sell job.
I'll give you the spiel. Also, big shout out Ron Mux. Unbelievable breakdowns, left and right. You guys are doing great stuff. Love you, Ron. Let's muck. Let's do a little Monday muck sesh. Kool-Aid Dave. Some of us care about Wisconsin here. Sad. Kool-Aid Dave, quintessential Packer fan, lives in Minnesota. Classic. All right. The Wolfpack. I would say that the Wolfpack are the most complex team to plan against. Mostly because they have 3 scoring threats that all do it so differently. Like, DJ Horn is one of the best in the business at what he does, scoring from the perimeter and scoring off the dribble.
Yeah.
Mohamed Diarra, he's long and he's physical, but he scores with both finesse and ferocity. And DJ Burns Jr., my GOAT. He's like Zach Edey in a sense, where you almost have to concede a bucket down low if he gets it in the right position. But he's got the moves and good footwork too. Kevin Keats is getting the best ball out of his team at the right time. He's a smart coach who the players love playing for. That's apparent. They kicked the teeth in on Texas Tech, a favorite everybody loved in round 1. I saw it all over. They needed some overtime magic against Oakland, but hey, that was 2 teams of destiny going head to head. James Golke is a tough cookie to crumble. We know this, but they still got it done. Now Marquette is no slouch. Noble, I'm not taking anything away from your Golden Eagles here. They fit the championship mold. They have a top 25 defense and offensive efficiency. They fit that championship mold. Tyler Kolek runs one of the best pick and rolls in the nation. NC State is going to definitely have their hands full with that. Also, Iguodaro is an absolute monster. Cam Jones has been playing a lot better. So, all that said, I'm going to stick with my gut here and keep with the team of destiny. All year, I've been saying that Marquette isn't that good. And I can't back down on my team of destiny now, as Marquette just doesn't strike the fear into me, Noble. We've seen how susceptible they've been. I mean, they were down to Western Kentucky for a nice portion of the game before the Hilltoppers turned back into a pumpkin. And also, don't forget that Colorado was actually winning the game near the end before Marquette squeaked it out. Like, I believe Marquette actually squandered that 11-point lead in that game, too. Like, they barely beat Colorado in a game that they shot 62% of the floor. That doesn't strike fear into me when I'm back in the pack of destiny. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm under the impression that the Wolfpack are going to continue to give it their all. It's going to be an awkward game for Marquette. And I think NC State has more dogs and is going to be much better than Western Kentucky and Colorado will be. Eddie Lampkin wishes he was DJ Burns. Give me the pack and the points once again.
I like that. That's fair. That is fair. I do see where you're coming from. I do think the points are a good look for NC State, but this is where the run comes to an end, in all honesty. And Kai Jones is going to be the difference in this game. If Kai Jones shows up for Marquette, if Kai Jones drops 20 points like he dropped 28 against Western Kentucky, or he hits 4 threes like he did against Colorado, and Kolek is able to get 11 assists like he was able to do against Colorado, they are going to be facing a better defense, but this Marquette team shot 61% from the field in their last game. They are clicking on the offensive side of the ball, And I think that is worrisome and a point of concern for an NC State team. You said that Colorado kept it close. That is true. But they didn't go into overtime. NC State did. And that's against an Oakland team that is nowhere near as talented, that nowhere near has the size. And yeah, they did a good job of chasing Jack off the 3-point line. Didn't let him get any shots up. But let's not act like they did not get absolutely killed on the inside by what's the young boy from Oakland who the Horizon League player Townsend from the Horizon League Player of the Year. So now you're talking about you're going to give me some better players in Iguodaro, in Joplin, in Cam Jones driving to the rim. I don't know. And we haven't seen this NC State team have to deal with the DJ Burns in foul trouble just yet because they haven't faced any big men who are going to push them. That pick and roll is going to force Burns either away from the rim or two have to rotate slowly, and it's either him going to pick up some fouls or Diarra's going to pick up some fouls, and that's going to be a problem for concern for NC State. So that's something to keep in mind.
Respect, brother. Best of luck.
We'll do a little friendly wager on that one.
We'll be seeing there. Pack of Destiny versus Noble's Future. Both of our futures going head to head.
That's it. Something's got to give.
Love it. All right, let's go to your boys. Another, I'm sure chat loves this. Another game where it's Noble's boys versus my boys.
Okay.
Because I got Gonzaga in my Final Four. You got Purdue as your national champion. So let's talk. Let's debate. Obviously, we're going to be on different sides of this. I want to know what you think about Purdue and why you like them so much.
Yeah, bro. So for me, I will say that Gonzaga has been the most impressive team in the tournament to me thus far. If there is a lower seed that has the ability to go to the Final Four, even go all the way, from what I've seen thus far, it is Gonzaga. They have been impressive. I must say you talked me into them last week. I still didn't listen that much, but I hear it. But let's look at the body of work. McNeese State looked like a high school JV team out there. Kudos to them for making them look that way. But this is also a team that played some very, very, very weak competition out this year in the Southland. McNeese State is. I mean, one of their games was against champion Christian and Biblical Studies for all get out. So we have to take that with a grain of salt. Now, they were able to handle Kansas in the second half. The first half, it was a close game. But Kansas on that side, I mean, were they really healthy? And then to hear Bill Self come out in a very cowardly way after in the press conference saying that he was focused on next season, I don't know what he told them in the halftime locker room, but maybe he said the same thing to them there, but I don't know. But that second half was not the same for this Kansas team, and injuries had a lot to play with that, but you're facing a Purdue team that is healthy, that is playing their best basketball that we've seen from Purdue all year. And I mean, they are playing great. They are shooting the ball from the three-point line. We saw that against Utah State, a team that is known for their defense. Get dropped with 106 points. Purdue, 11 of 23 from the three-point line in that game, and a lot of those missed threes came in garbage time. Zach Edey, we know how unstoppable he is. 23 points and 14 rebounds in that matchup. Another first-half double-double for Zach Edey. That's his second of the tournament thus far. That, to me, is the difference in this game. This team is not focused on just one player carrying them to victory like Zach Edey, but they're willing to beat you in several different ways. Whether it's dumping it to Edey first and then kicking it out to Loya for the knockdown three who had 15 points in the last matchup. Maybe it comes from Jones, who's going to be able to get this team off to a hard start, Lance Jones, by picking up a guard full court and being able to get a strip or two. Maybe it comes with Braden Smith being able to facilitate and knock and give out a few dimes. Maybe it comes with Trey Kaufman, who was able to get out to a hot start and have 18 points in that game against Utah State. There's too many different options here for this Purdue offense and for this Purdue team as a whole that I just don't see how Gonzaga is going to be able to stop them. Now, can Gonzaga keep up? Yes. That's why I really lean towards this over 154 total that we're seeing here. I do think that this game is going to be highlighted by offense. Gonzaga is going to be able to keep up. But will they be able to get a stop when it matters? And will they also be able to stop Zach Edey on the inside with their size? I don't necessarily know. There isn't a lot of guys who play for Gonzaga that have size. I mean, Braden Huff, 6'10", okay. They've got Ben Gregg off the bench who barely plays. He's also 6'10", but they're the tallest guys on the team. Zach Edey picks up 2 quick fouls on those guys at 7-4, we're looking at a little bit of trouble. Trey Kaufman's also 6'9" himself. Caleb Frost doesn't really play, but he's 6'10". Purdue has the size. They have the better shooting. This is a game Gonzaga has to trade threes for twos, but I'm willing to bank on the 42nd best defense on the three-point line, that being Purdue, and 16th overall in defensive efficiency to carry the number one three-point shooting team in the country, which is Purdue, to victory in this matchup. So give me Purdue. I will lay the 5.5 points, but I also like them as a money line piece.
Listen, I hear you, and I get it, and I respect it. God damn, do I respect it, Noble. But best of luck to you. Like, we know, right? We know Purdue and the Zags already played once this year.
Yeah.
Purdue won the game by 10. The Zags were actually winning that game for the first half of it. And then they fell apart at the end as Purdue ran it up late, something Purdue does a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It is worth noting that Gonzaga shot 6 for 32 from deep that game. Something, with the current form they're in, I expect them to do a lot better this time around, as they're playing much better ball than they are at the beginning of the year. Let's get that out of the way. I mean, after the first weekend here, the teams to beat are what? UConn and Purdue. Both teams have been absolutely embarrassing fools. All right? It's worth noting that Gonzaga, it's not a great draw for Purdue. I mean, when you talk about teams that can go punch for punch with them on the offensive end, I mean, the Zags are a top 10 team in the nation in offensive efficiency. But they're also one of the best teams in the country at taking care of the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You can attribute a lot of that to Ryan Nembhard, one of the best guards in the country. I've always preached guard play in March. Nolan Hickman, no slouch either. But the front court offensive output is what has really been fueling the Zags so far this tournament. They should be able to go punch for punch with Edey and the gang. Graham Ike and Anton Watson are both on fire, both playing out of their minds. On the other hand, Purdue probably has the most dominant advantage that any team could ever have in Zach Edey. I mean, it's almost April, and no coach has been able to find an answer for him. Like, it's almost a cheat code when you combine that with the shooters that they've surrounded him with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Purdue, as we saw over the weekend, has absolute wet pieces. They've been a top 5 3-point shooting team all year. Something different than Purdue teams of late. They have that avenge themselves narrative from last year's embarrassing loss. But Matt Painter, he's kind of got the Rick Barnes syndrome, where he always seems to choke when it matters. He's never been to a Final Four. How can he possibly fuck this up when he has Zach Edey and the wet bandits around him, right? 19 seasons for Painter. 1 Elite 8 appearance. I think this is going to be a sweaty one for Purdue. Gonzaga, a lot more loaded than Utah State. Grambling wasn't a test. Gonzaga's playing their best ball of the year. Completely embarrassed a 30-win McNeese team that everyone said was the greatest mid-major to ever play the game. Bill Self looked like Kenny Payne out there. 19 seasons for Painter. 1 Elite 8 appearance. On the other hand, Mark Few, 9 straight Sweet 16s. Elite 8 4 times in the last 8 years. Purdue's not unbeatable, but I'm going to take the 5.5 points with the team I could easily see winning outright. I'm taking Gonzaga.
That's fair. I'm not mad at that. Ken Palm has it as a 4-point win for Purdue, so the 5.5 would make it safe on your end. But keep in mind, every time Gonzaga stepped up in class this year against a team defensively, Purdue, Washington, UConn, San Diego State, St. Mary's, twice, they've all lost. So this is a step up in class for them compared to McNeese and Kansas. This to me is going to be a shootout. It's going to be tough, but we'll see. I like Purdue as a money line piece. And I think that there's a lot for us to dive into here. So I like this matchup for sure. We'll see. We'll be seeing. We'll be seeing,
as they say. Best of luck, brother.
Yes, sir.
All right, last game to go over.
Last matchup.
You said you got to bounce here pretty soon?
Yeah, I got to go in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes, chat. So if any questions, any games you want us to break down, let us know real quick.
Also, Bully the Line, big ups, my dog. Thanks for popping in here.
For sure. Appreciate you, man.
All right. Tennessee, Creighton. Tennessee -3, 160 on the ML, 143.5 total. Game's loaded with talent at both ends of the floor, Noble. What do you got?
Yeah, offense versus defense. Number 11th ranked offense against one of the top defenses in all the entire country, being Tennessee, who ranked number third on the defensive side of the ball. I am always fading Tennessee in tournaments because of the Rick Barnes syndrome. You spoke about it with Matt Painter. I'll speak about it with Rick Barnes because it's true. If you look at his calendar in terms of how he wins in November, December, he's one of the winningest coaches in all college basketball against the number. But as he gets further into the season, that number significantly reduces, and by the time we hit the month of March, Rick Barnes is against the number only about 35%. That means he's absolutely terrible. Guess what? One of the underdogs to cover when we had a day full of favorites winning on Saturday. You know who was one of the underdogs to cover? That's right, Texas against the number. So that makes me scared here because as a handicapper, I'm like, okay, Tennessee has the better defense. That defense is legit. It's no joke. That's the reason why they won that game. Texas blew a lot of opportunities, but it is legit. But for me, the problem with Tennessee in this matchup is if they don't get stops, if Creighton hits their shots, Creighton wins this game. And I know that's easy and obvious to say, but the problem with what Texas did against Tennessee is Texas did not hit their shots. They did not take advantage of the fact that Zig Ziglar shot like 2 of 20 from the field. They did not take advantage of the fact that Dalton Connect did not hit double-digit scoring until like 5 minutes left in the game. That is unexcusable, but that is also not going to happen with Creighton because they're going to shoot a ton of threes. They're super efficient from the field. They are going to be able to push the tempo when they need to, or they're going to be able to score in the half court. This team is third in effective field goal percentage, 32nd in three-point percentage, third in two-point percentage, 11th in free throw percentage, and they 69th in turnover percentage, so they're not going to give you any extra possessions. So the question is simply going to be this. Is Dalton Connect going to show up? Because if he has the same performance that he did this past week, where he ended up shooting in that Texas game, let me look at it, 5 of 18 from the field, that's not going to get it done. If Zig Ziglar shoots 2 of 12 from the field, 1 of 8 from the three-point line, it ain't going to get it done. And if Rick Barnes is going to expect to make a deep run in this tournament, he has to get scoring from his guards, especially Santiago Vivesky, or however you say his last name. Because last year, he was one of the leading scorers on the team, averaging 12 points per game. Obviously, Dalton Connect comes, changes the offense, but now he's barely averaging 6 points per game. If he's not contributing, and you're only expecting Dalton Connect to do something, it ain't going to work. Too many offensive weapons for Creighton here. So for me, I lean Creighton in this matchup. I always fade Tennessee in March. They were able to get through the last 2 games barely against Texas, and Creighton has the offense and the ability to shoot the three. They've got the size in Kalkbrenner to be able to keep up with Adu and also to keep them off the glass. So for me, I'm going to take Creighton on the money line. I'll take the plus 3.5, but I think they win this game outright. They're the better team here, and I think that as long as Tennessee's defense keeps them in the game, that might be worth something. But if we saw what happened like with Colorado, where they missed all their shots in the first half and was able to wake up in the second half, might be the difference. I think Creighton is going to be the team that's better equipped to be able to handle the offense that's going to be necessary in this game.
I'm absolutely in love with this game. I feel like a lot of people are bitching that there isn't like a Cinderella in the Sweet 16.
Right.
But these matchups are fire, dude. Like these games are going to be fire. Like you don't want to watch Princeton versus UConn in the Elite Eight. Like you just don't. You want to watch the best teams. Although upsets are fun, this is going to make for some good basketball this weekend. I'm with you though. Games loaded with talent at both ends of the floor. We talked about it. Dalton Connect, Ziegler, Kalkbrenner, Trey Alexander, Baylor Shireman. Is this the year that Rick Barnes gets the monkey off his back? You say no. I say no. I say they can only go as far as Dalton Connect can take them. Like they weren't flawless with the way they handled Texas. Some of those ugly demons did rear their heads. I'm a little worried that Connect still hasn't found his shot. He's 5 of 18 from the floor. The team shot 3 of 25 from downtown. I just think Creighton's playing a better brand of basketball. We're playing better. They're shooting just under 50% from downtown so far this tourney. That is absolutely lethal. And when you combine that with guys like Trey Alexander, who are excellent two-way players, set up good looks for guys like Baylor Shireman and Kalkbrenner, and add that with the advantage that Creighton's going to have on the glass this game, People forget this team was one basket away from going to the Final Four last year. They got that on their mind. They're going to stop at nothing. You have two elite defenses, but both offenses take care of the ball well. So I'm not expecting a lot of turnovers. I'm expecting a more controlled game. So then I have to turn my head to who has the offensive advantage and the advantage on the glass. And also who doesn't have Rick Barnes as their coach. I'm not going to bet money on Dalton Connect and hope he figures it out. I'm not going to take the team that's playing, or I'm going to take the team that's playing a better brand of basketball and that's on a roll. I'm just not sure the Vols are going to be able to make enough shots. So I'm going to take Creighton with the points.
I like that, man. I'm glad that we're on the same page here. So let me see if we go through this slate from top to bottom here. Let's look at what we have. Let's see, for the Sweet 16, we got a total of 8 games. And I think that we are in agreement on 6 of the 8 in terms of a pick from each. And then we separate a little bit on a few of the Sunday or Friday games. So we've got UConn minus 11, right? I think you mentioned that you like them to cover the spread, which I'm not opposed to, so we can keep that on the same page. I see you guys on the Twitter. Appreciate you guys for tapping in. Real quick, I'm just going to wrap this up. I think Shark, I'm not sure. All right, here we go. Sorry about that. And yep, I think we're good. I'm not sure what happened, but we're just wrapping this up. So we were mentioning UConn minus 11, UConn team total over 72.5, UNC minus 4, Arizona and UNC in a money line parlay. We both agreed on Creighton plus 3.5, and then we kind of were a little bit separate on Gonzaga and Marquette. As Shark has Gonzaga covering the spread, I have Marquette and Purdue on a money line parlay. But Shark also has NC State winning that game, or at least covering for sure. But I think he also has them winning the game. Does that sound about right, Shark?
Yeah, I got a future of NC State winning that game. Like, I'm not going to endorse hammer NC State on the ML, but
right.
I definitely love the spread for sure. I'm going to keep taking the points with the Pack of Destiny.
All right, the Pack of Destiny. So we'll be back next week, Shark, maybe to break down the Elite Eight Final Four, bring the people a little bit more. I appreciate everybody who's tapped in. We got a good engagement on the Twitch. The Twitter has about a good amount of people watching, so we appreciate the love. Man, follow us on Instagram, it's on YouTube, Twitch, all the platforms. You got Noble Living here. You got Shark Lark Picks. Shark, tell the people any final words, any last victories, any W's?
No, man. I just say let's try to survive this week until we're back this Thursday.
Let's do it, man. Let's have a day. For more of our picks and plays, make sure you guys are following us because we drop our winners there every single day. And we appreciate all the love and support. Let's get it, gang.
Peace.